Hello, good Tuesday afternoon. I almost forgot evening. It's been a long week already. The week just got started, and it has uh, been very eventful to say the least. And we are committed. Let me bring my co-host on, and so we can greet you guys together. All right. So I'm joined by my co-host Justin Johnson, and we are committed to pushing the vote. And so all this week, for the most part, we'll take a break tomorrow, um, and I'll come back Thursday for Bible study, of course, and then Friday around 5 o'clock we have a little quick talk with the guy from Charlotte, from coming from a felon to being very successful citizen, and he's going to push why felons, ex-felons, should get out the vote. And so we are committed. And tonight, Coach Johnson and I are going to drink some Red Bull or whatever and get back up at 10:30 tonight. And we're going to review the debate. So we want to invite you to do that as well. We're going to have we could wait till tomorrow, but I want it fresh. We want it fresh because, and some of us, coach, probably gonna have to go to a psychiatrist if we sleep on this thing. So you say hello to the people, and we introduce our panelists for tonight.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back.
Yeah, welcome back, round two. So I don't think I communicated correctly. This week's push is for registration. Deadline is Friday. Deadline is actually Friday. So um, Coach Johnson and I don't have a couple of $1 million that we can throw on a campaign or throw for promotions, but we're sacrificing our time to push everyone to at least get registered this week. And so that's what this week is all about. Let me see if I can get some people before we call everybody in. We have Latoya. Hey, Latoya, hopefully your comments can come up tonight. I'll be watching. We're still working on your situation. All right. Okay, so first we're going to bring up a young lady. Hello, this is Tatiana from University of Florida, from the University of Florida. And she's going to be sharing with us her perspective from the college campus. And Tatiana has her own podcast. And so, Tatiana, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tatanya White. I'm a second-year broadcast journalism major at the University of Florida. Go Gators. And my podcast is Talks with Tatiana, and it is basically just a podcast that goes over just topics regarding Generation Z and just breaking some of the stereotypes that some of the older generations tend to have about us, and also just my journey on being a minority at a PWI, which is a predominantly white institution.
Oh, I'm glad you informed me on that one. I was going to be like, "What's that, Coach Johnson?" But good, it's good to have you. And we're going to have Tatiana to come back after the elections and share more about her podcast. And so we're glad to have her and her perspective. And then we have Sergeant Deterrence Brown. Now, I must admit, I have never seen a Deterrence Brown. So he's a sergeant, and he's down at Fort Jackson, I assume, but trained in Kentucky. So tell us a little bit about yourself there, Sergeant.
Hey, good evening, everyone. My name is D. Terrence. I'm a staff sergeant in the United States Army, active duty. I was born and raised in South Carolina. I moved around to Colorado Springs, Colorado, South Korea. I got a deployment in Afghanistan. We're at Fort Bragg, jumping out of airplanes, and now I'm here at Fort Jackson, being a writer developer for our advanced leaders course.
Okay, great. How long you been in? Did I miss that?
The total time I did 7 years in the South Carolina Army National Guard, and I've been active duty for 11 years now. So a little over 18 years, a couple months over 18 years.
Okay, gotcha. So he's gonna bring a fresh perspective from the military standpoint. And we appreciate you being on tonight. And last but not least, we have Mr. Bill Kilmer. Killer, is that right?
Kimler is correct. I am the
Kimler.
only one in all of South Carolina.
I can believe it. Tell
Yes,
us where
sir.
you're from.
I'm from Greenwood, South Carolina, and I am the chair of the Greenwood County Democratic Party.
All right. So I've been warned that Mr. Bill is going to bring it tonight. So we all going to be prepared. Have your questions ready. He can answer any and everything. Terrence, you got a compliment already, huh? So that'll be icebreaker there for you. Okay. All right. Yes, Greenwood is highly represented. Okay, so we're gonna jump right into it because we all know what's coming up. We have a big debate coming up tonight, and I think my producer is there. I'm gonna let you take control. I believe you're there. Yeah, I assume you are. Could you go ahead with the first question? All right. Who are some of the candidates that are on the Democratic ballot in Greenwood County? Let me tell the people first why Greenwood is such an interest. I am a native of Greenwood, South Carolina. So as I said earlier in the introduction, Coach Johnson and we don't have $1 million, not yet anyway, to be able to just lay on some cities, our hometowns, and for the betterment of the areas. But I do want to be all that I can be by reaching back to our community. So Greenwood has my heart, and I want to be able to have some type of investment back into my hometown. So with that said, back on you, Bill, who are some of the candidates you have coming up?
Listen, I have been absolutely blessed to find myself in Greenwood. As you can tell from my lack of a southern drawl, I'm not from the area. I was born and raised in the Northeast. I'm a Philly boy through and through. Go Eagles. Well, maybe not this year. But my heart is in Greenwood. That's where the love of my life is from. So my wife, born and raised right here in town. And so I've transplanted myself, and I now call myself a Southerner. Although I just can't handle boiled peanuts. I don't know what y'all were thinking when you started eating boiled peanuts, but that's for another discussion. So anyhow, the question on the table are the candidates, and I have been absolutely blessed to get to know them in person, each and every one of them. So at the top of my list has to be our state senator, Floyd Nicholson. I mean, this is a man who is just a good man through and through. He's smart. He's hardworking. He's delivered for our county. He has, I'll share with you a quick story about Senator Floyd. He has been the recipient of some pretty negative advertising in this area. He's drawn himself a tough candidate, and they've come at him full force, just spreading some of the nastiest mailings I've ever seen in politics. And I've seen some nasty stuff. His wife, Mamie, and himself has given us explicit instructions not to respond in kind. They said that they are going to live and die taking the high road. They are going to just stand on Floyd's record, of which it is incredible record of service to Greenwood County and delivering for its people. And then they gave instructions to us and to the state party. This is how they want to do it, you know, for better, for worse. And, you know, when you thought you respect somebody, it just went a level higher.
Right.
So Floyd's my man. He picks up the phone when you call. His wife is amazing as well. Also on the ballot, of course, we've got Mr. Jamie Harrison, our next senator, and he's got all the passion in the world. He's got all the billboards in the area. He's got all the signs and all the yards. We love ourselves, Jamie. We've got Hosea Cleveland running for U.S. Congress in South Carolina District 3. Also in Greenwood County, there's a little part of it. In fact, this is a part that I live in District 4 of the Senate. That's not Senator Floyd's district. It is going to be Senator, or soon to be Senator, Jose Villa. Now, Jose, he's from Anderson, but that district with all the wacky gerrymandering comes down into Greenwood as well, if you believe it or not. But he's a young guy. He's a construction worker, electrician. I mean, every time I've interviewed him, he's got the hard hat on and he's talking from the work site. So he's a working man through and through, and he's all about the people. I mean, he came from the Bernie Sanders camp. And that is who he is. So he's an interesting guy. Representative Ann Parks, she's a legend in the area. She's the one that got then candidate Barack Obama to come to Greenwood and do a campaign rally before his first election. And he calls her out by name. It's a pretty chilling moment if you watch it on YouTube.
Okay.
Then we've also got
Now,
Denise.
Bill.
Yeah, go ahead.
Now she's not the fired up, getting ready to.
No, that is Councilwoman Edith
But
Childs,
she's from
the hat
Greenwood
lady.
too, right? Yeah, she's from Greenwood
Yes,
as well.
yeah.
Yeah.
In the same speech, President Obama talks about fired up, ready to go. And that came right here in Greenwood. There's a great video about it. Yes, sir.
Right.
So she is our House representative running for re-election in House District 12. And then we've also got Denise Waldrop, who is running in House District 13. She's a teacher. She's an artist. She was a second vice chair of the Democratic Party, and she's given this campaign everything she's got. She's a very interesting take. Her take is, we got enough lawyers in the House. Let's get some teachers. Let's get some artists. Let's actually make the House representative of the people.
Right. Good job. Okay. And that's what that was Coach Johnson's concern. We just talked about that. Making the offices look like the citizens. And if you got teachers, that platform, that might be where you need to be.
You ever see the group shot of the Republican Congress and Senate?
Always.
Does that look like that represents the people that they're supposed to serve? I mean, it's like polar bears in the Arctic. It's absolutely crazy.
I agree. Okay. What's the next one there, producer? All right. What are the different ways a person can register using technology? So I understand this is Bill's wheelhouse as well. And if you can share a little bit of that with us, and we'll move.
Oh, first, I'll tell you, it's a shame that in this country, in this day and age, that we're just not automatically registered. Other countries, you're born, you're a citizen, you reach a certain age, boom, you're registered. You don't have to go out of your way. Here, we got to chase people down, because if you don't go out of your way and fill out forms or sign things online, you can't participate in the vote. And I think that is absolutely backwards. But if you are so inclined to vote, and everybody here should be, because your life depends upon it, your livelihood depends upon it, you can do so online. There is one website you need to bookmark, and that is scvotes.gov. SC is in South Carolina, votes.gov. They got everything you need. One easy button there to go register online. All you need to have is your driver's license or an ID. You put that in, you put your name, you put your last name, first name, date of birth, social security number, and then bam, you're registered. I did it when I moved to South Carolina. Couldn't have been easier. But I will give you two pieces of advice. One, if you've had a change in address or a change in name, you got married or something, you have to get that taken care of first on your driver's license. Get that taken care of at the DMV tomorrow. Then you can go online and update your voter registration or register to vote for the first time and use your legal name. So as you see in the panel names here, I go by Bill. That doesn't work for registering. I have to go by William. Can't do Bill, can't do Willie, can't do Sparky. It's got to be your legal name, and that trips some people up.
Okay, I'm gonna jump ahead of myself. I just heard that North Carolina had a lot of applications. I think it was ballots kicked back. Was it because of the names? Have you heard about that?
I have not heard of the reason why, but there's always lots of reasons why ballots may get kicked back.
There was a lot, and there was gosh, I meant to get that report to you, but we'll come back. I may get it before we
Well, I'll share this with you. There are states that do purging of the rolls. So if you had not voted in several years, let's say it's been a couple of presidents since you voted, South Carolina may have already gone ahead and struck your name from the record. And if you are so motivated to get Trump out and the last time you voted was for Bill Clinton, you might be in for a surprise when you show up at the polls. So you should check online. In fact, the South Carolina Democratic Party has actively pursued those people who have been cleansed from the polls, sent them postcards, sent them reminders, tried to get the word out. but you should check. If you voted in the primary in June, you're good. If you voted for a presidential Democratic nominee in February, you're good. But if it's been a long time, you definitely should go online and check.
Okay. All right. Who said ball peanuts? Oh, I'm sorry. I was looking at some. They say somebody actually agreed with you that ball peanuts were nasty. That's impossible. And they live in South Carolina.
There's a whole hour we could spend on that subject for
I
sure,
know.
but we'll do that after November.
Okay. All right. I bet you Floyd eat ball peanuts though. Hey, he's a good man.
I'm not changing my vote. He's a good man.
All right. Let's go to Tatanya. Tatanya, what is your read on the college involvement for voting registrations right now?
So I think colleges, like at least at my school, they're doing like a pretty great job at making sure students are registered to vote. Many colleges, at least at the University of Florida, they've been sending emails and posting about it on social media. And before coronavirus, when we could do things in person, they would set up tablings outside in large areas around campus where they knew a lot of students would walk past, and then they would help people register to vote, or they would at least make sure that they're registered to vote in the right county. So they would try to get them to register to vote here, or at least make sure that they go back to their home county to vote. And then also my college recently did a competition with our rival school, Florida State University, which encouraged a lot of students to register to vote, because the competition was basically which one of us could get the most students to vote. And so I feel like that encouraged a lot of students to vote because they wanted their school to win. And then also, since social media is so big in our age range, college students, it's been really helpful that a lot of the social media platforms have had the banners across the screen as soon as you click on the app, with the links and the buttons and stuff to make sure that you're registered. So I feel like we're doing pretty good.
Have you heard of any other colleges doing things like that as well? I guess Florida State would be our competition, or Miami University of Miami. So I know, like you said, it's PY what?
PWI. Yeah.
PWI. So with that said, do you know of other colleges, universities that are doing such things as that?
I don't know. I do remember though, this was not a presidential election, but I do remember at one point for our governor election in Florida, whenever that happened, they did bring celebrities out and stuff to our places and held different things like that. Because I guess hearing a celebrity voice, encouraging you to vote and hosting things like that brought in a lot of college students, and they were interested, and they got a lot of people to want to register and be involved. So
okay. All right. Coach, I meant to ask you to follow up with Bill or Tatiana at this point.
I guess my only follow-up would be how many of the students on campus are actually voting absentee, or are you all deciding to vote there within your local community? I only ask because I always find that college students, they may have some complaints about local things and they want things to change. And I always say, well, hey, you live there, at the college, why don't you become, a member of the community and actually vote there? So I'm just curious if if people have been doing absentee or if they're voting locally.
I think a lot of people are voting absentee for sure. I know for me, I'm going back to my home county, just because I didn't want to move my voter registration at all. But yeah.
Okay. And Bill, would you have anything to add for maybe, and even Tatiana, you can speak on this. Say there are some universities or colleges that are not doing what you guys are doing, and be honest, more likely, I don't know, you may get me for saying this, Tanya, but I don't know how many young people are watching this broadcast, but certainly somebody's grandmother or mother or father is watching. What would be y'all's advice to the parents or the grandparents to get to that student
Hey, Dr. White, I tell you what, I may not look it, but I'm the parent of 2 college students.
Wow.
Actually, my daughter graduated 2 years ago, and my son's a senior. And I
Okay.
made both of them send me a photo of their registration card. They're up in New York, and I'm down here in South Carolina, so I can't walk them to the polls. But I made them send that to me for Father's Day. That was my Father's Day present. I said, "You don't
Oh,
got to give me any money; just send me a photo of your registration IDs." That's how important it was to me.
cool. That is cool, y'all. Y'all that's listening, that's a good idea. And it's that important. And we'll get into that a little bit later. Okay. Um, the Terrence Sergeant. What's the feel like on the military base? And I was talking to my daughter today, and I could not remember the process. You know what? I'm gonna be honest with you, and I told her I'm very ashamed. Now I've been retired for a minute, but I'm kind of ashamed, but I can't remember. And if I can't remember, I don't know if I participated in the process. Of course, I was young, dumb, and all that crazy stuff. But tell me what kind of feel you're getting on the military bases.
So, I can speak from my personal experience. On the military basis, we actually have voter registration. People, service members, basically people, representatives in a unit. For each unit has a representative to, talk about voter registration, to assist service members with getting registered. So I get a good feeling from it. I will definitely say that we have to be mindful of what's on our leave and earning statement, because that is considered like our, home record. So if we haven't moved our residency anywhere else, then that's where we have to vote or send our absentee ballot into.
Now, for clarity, leave and earning statement is your pay stub, right?
Yes, sir. It's our pay stub.
Okay. So they have where your taxes are coming out on that.
Correct.
Match. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So people don't need to get confused with, your voting residence and with your home of record, because there could be two different things, like where you're registered to vote and your home of record for the military could be the same or it could be different. For my case, my home of record is where I enlisted into the military, which is South Carolina, and which is where I'm registered to vote. But while I was living in Colorado Springs, Colorado, or Fayetteville, North Carolina, I was still registered to vote in the state of South Carolina. So that's when the absentee ballot came into place for me.
Okay. So parents and grandparents out there, if you have some service members from your family, make sure they check they still call it LES, leave
Yes.
and
Leave and earning statement. Yes.
Because what can be confusing, they could be living off base and be living in an apartment or either a house. But if they haven't changed their home record or what's on their LES, then they may not be eligible to vote. So make that somebody's birthday present or something for them to send you a copy of it. Yeah. All right, Coach, you got anything on that?
Sergeant Brown, I guess I'm just curious. I think you said you've been active duty 7 years. So what's the energy like? Do you notice them more engaged to register to vote this time around, less engaged? What is it like in comparison?
I think they're more engaged now because I think they want to see change from the previous, election and stuff. So the people that I, converse with on a daily basis and stuff, they, wasn't necessarily into like the politics and stuff. And we have to be very careful because at the end of the day, the commander in chief, the president, is our boss. So we have to walk that fine line, even though we might not agree with, certain things or certain political views. We have to just walk that fine line. But I think that they're more engaged now and they're going to get out to the polls and vote.
Okay, good. That's a good sign.
Hey, if I may ask you, Sergeant, how were you impacted by the suckers and losers statement that came out in the news a couple weeks
Be
back.
truthful. Tell the truth. Shame the devil.
I don't pay it any mind.
Got to walk that fine line.
Yeah.
Boy, I can see him turning red from here.
You're not gonna no comment?
I took him off the hook. I got
You
him on
did?
the hook.
Okay. Well, I tell you what, how you feel about it, Bill?
Look, I have not had the privilege to serve, and I so admire those who did, but I certainly took it as a gut punch myself. You know, every family has somebody who was in military, and both my grandfathers were Navy men in Norfolk. And, you know, so we take pride, and my son's about to join the military when he graduates college. So I took that statement as an absolute gut punch. Not surprised. Anybody who's paying attention has got their eyes open and their ears open. Not surprised, but still, it's a gut punch that anybody would have the audacity to speak like that.
Yes. And I'm retired now. I'm not on the hook either there. Sorry. But, and then to find out, and we'll talk about this a little later, I guess, then to find out about the taxes. And I've served 19 years. I have injuries with my service. And then I'm having to support you in the White House, and you can't pay taxes. But I'll move on from that before I'm on the hook some kind of way. But anyway, there's a question. I'm not sure if you would know this, Sergeant. Has the numbers enlisting shifted due to this current climate?
From my experience, I don't think the numbers of like people enlisting has shifted. Everybody joins the military for different reasons, and you know, I think everything is still on track. The number of military personnel is dictated by Congress, and you know, we have recruiters out there to go out and
Right.
achieve those numbers and stuff.
Right. That's why I'm not sure if you would know. You
Sorry,
saying
I was
something?
curious. I'm curious because I think not too long ago when a lot of this racial unrest kind of really came front and center, I remember the top brass said that they would be committed to making the military a more inclusive environment, more reflective of the population, etc. I guess I'm just curious, have you seen anything or felt anything in your position that says, hey, some meaningful changes are being made?
For me, I haven't seen like any meaningful changes, and maybe because that's where I'm located. I'm in a TRADOC environment where it's trainees, people just entering the military. So from my perspective, it hasn't been a lot of change.
Okay. Thank you. I was just curious.
Okay. All right. I think the next question. Okay. Bill, what's your read on the state and the county? I know y'all getting ready to do something real big here in a couple of days, you mentioned.
Yeah, I tell you, this is my favorite subject. I'm a numbers guy. You know, my degree was in mathematics. It's what I'm passionate about, or just data and numbers. So I'm going to lay a few numbers on you guys. When it comes to voter registration, only 1 out of 3 Americans who are qualified to register to vote don't. And of those that do register, 1 out of 3 don't even take the time to vote. You take those two numbers together and add them up, that means half, just less than half of those eligible to vote in the United States don't register or don't vote. So already people say my vote doesn't count. Why bother? I say right out of the gate, your vote counts for 2 people because half the rest of the country is not even voting. And they say, well, can I make a difference? But this year, man, the races are so close. Your vote could sway it one way or the other. Next door to Greenwood is Abbeville. And they call Abbeville the birthplace of the Confederacy. I'm not sure how proud they are of that, but that's what they call it. And in 2016, the city of Abbeville elected its first African-American mayor by 6 votes. We have almost 6 votes right here on this panel, right? 6 votes made the difference in that election. And that was recent memory. This wasn't a long time ago in the 1800s. That was 2016. 1 year later in 2017 in Virginia, a special election was held for state house representative. Over 23,000 votes were cast. They picked the winner out of a bowl. They picked the name out of a bowl. You know why? Because it was an exact tie out of 23,232 votes. It was dead even. So they had to resort to their backup plan, pick it out of a bowl. One vote would have made a difference there. So I say, that's the message that I've been spreading at the churches, at the meetings, at all the events I get to talk at, just to say, hey, it is worth your time. We were doing a voter registration drive last weekend at a youth football league for the city youth. Great program called New Era, and they do a fantastic job for the youth of the area. Hundreds of kids and their families out, and we were right there in the thick of it with registration tables. Masks on, distancing, doing all the proper precautions. And we're thinking that the enthusiasm is absolutely high. Just yesterday, we were handing out pamphlets. Old guy, never voted in his life, says, how do I register? And we had a form with us. We got him signed right up. He's that moved to do so. So I'm thinking that it's pretty good, but the deadline is Friday to vote in person. You have until Sunday. I'm sorry, the deadline to register is Friday in person. If you do it online or by email, you have until Sunday, but don't wait until the weekend. Just get it done. Right. But after that, then we shift to getting out the vote. And we've got precincts in Greenwood that lean Democrat, and that's great, but they have only 40% turnout. 60% of that county don't even come out to vote. And it's great that it's a Democratic leaning area, but Senator Floyd Nicholson, Hosea Cleveland, Jamie Harrison, Ann Parks, they need those votes because it's more than just a precinct. So you get out 10 more percent, 20 more percent, there's the difference of the election right there.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Cynthia Tarbert, for that encouragement, and Miss Rosa with us 100%, especially with the bill there. But there was a question, a very important question from Miss Loudon about nephew. I have a nephew going into the military in October. Should he do a absentee ballot? So what do you advise there?
Yeah.
Bill, you're the specialist on that one.
Well, there is an interesting option called in-person absentee. So it's not a mail-in ballot. You can walk right into the elections office starting Monday, October 5th. You can walk in any day as long as they're open, sign a little form, fill it out, and then go cast your vote right then and there. Other states call it early voting. South Carolina calls it in-person absentee. So yeah, you have mail as an option, but given what's happened with the USPS and the government trying to dismantle it, people may feel a little nervous about it. In-person absentee is the way to go. And in fact, Greenwood is opening a satellite location. They're going to have two places you can do in-person absentee. The election office opens up on Monday, but then the next week, starting on Tuesday, they'll have a second location people can go to. And that's what I recommend. In-person absentee, it's spread out over the weeks of October. You're not going to be dealing with lines. You're not going to be dealing with crowds. You get to show up in person. The poll workers are going to be wearing masks and all the protective equipment. They're going to have sanitizers, and you can cast your vote right then and there at the machine and not have to worry about it.
Okay. All right. Next question. I think, what was it? Due to the COVID-19, do you recommend mail-in or in-person voting? And that would be to you, Bill.
Yeah, that was my answer. Actually, I had a third option.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it's called in-person absentee. So you don't have to wait till November 3rd. You can do it in person without the crowds, wearing a mask, and then you can safely vote. If you are physically unable to get out, if you're in a retirement center or you're disabled or you just don't have transportation, then go ahead and do it by mail. The mail has actually been pretty good. Just don't wait until the last week to do so. Get that done. And I have confidence in our mail system here locally. But if you have the option to do it in person, absentee, do it during the month of October and get it out of the way and avoid the rush of November 3rd.
So I guess that's my point is with your specialty. So you feel you feel comfortable with the mailing system at this point.
Look, let's address that other word, specialty. Look, I'm just a guy.
Okay.
I'm a guy like you. I have a job. I've got bills to pay. To be honest with you, I'd rather not be doing this. I'd rather we'd be in a country with great leaders. When Barack Obama was president, I went to bed at night. Didn't think about Barack Obama. Now I'm going to bed at night thinking about the mess we're in every night since 2016 because the news just doesn't stop with one awful decision, one awful action after another. So it really wasn't until 2016 that I got involved the way I have. So I appreciate you calling me a specialist, but I'm just learning this, like the rest of y'all.
Okay.
But yeah, I would recommend that's what we're all promoting is in-person absentee. Yes, sir.
Okay. All right.
Well, Bill, that's the first time I've actually heard of the in-person absentee. So
Me too.
just to clarify, that doesn't come with any like strings attached. Like that's anyone who is registered, who I guess would use the pandemic as their reasoning for absentee.
That's a fantastic point, Coach. You make a good point, and shame on me for not bringing that up. In a normal election year, to do absentee, whether by mail or in person, you had to have a reason. And there's like 13 reasons, and just about everybody fell into those reasons. You're disabled, or you have to work, or you're taking care of somebody who's disabled, or you're going to be on vacation. 100 reasons you had to choose from. But this year, the legislature, the one good thing they did in Columbia back in early September is they said, no excuses needed. If you want to vote in-person absentee by mail or in person, that's a right now extended to all South Carolinians. So yeah, anybody can do it. Doesn't mean it'll be around next election cycle, but for this year, that is the case.
Well, we definitely need to drum that up a little more in October because like I said, I didn't know, and I think we've had on at least 2 candidates so far, and this is the first time we've heard this. So I'm glad you mentioned it, and I'll definitely push it for sure.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go to Tatiana. Well, let's get this to Tatanya. How active are college students in protesting, campaigning, and the coronavirus protection? I think campaigning is different from voting drives. So if you can tell us about that in about 60 seconds.
Okay. So college students, and I think just the younger generation in general, we've been very active in protesting for the different injustices going on. And I think with everything that's been happening with the Black Lives Matter, it's definitely motivated a lot of us to want to go out there and vote and go to protest, and we've been wearing our mask out there and everything like that. I even have a friend group back at home who started their own protest called Take a Stand Tally. So I definitely think we've been putting together a lot of protests. We've been trying to educate people through social media, sharing things, sharing our stories, sharing what we know about the various issues that we are going through, and we've been allowing those open conversations. And then as far as campaigning, we've once again been creating them, sharing them through social media, which is a big thing for college students in our generation, because that's what we use a lot. So that's been also really helpful. And then as far as coronavirus protection, I will be honest, college students are not, a lot of them are not doing that great with the coronavirus protection. I feel like a lot of them are not taking it serious enough. They're still going out without masks and kind of disregarding the dangers of this pandemic. But I do know some colleges and some college students like myself, we've been sharing a lot of information from the CDC guidelines. We've been trying to encourage students. I know at many colleges, especially mine, we've been, they've put out rules. So if we do get caught at a big party or not social distancing or not wearing a mask or anything, we could get expelled or suspended. So I feel like a lot of colleges at this point are starting to implement a lot of rules so we can actually follow the protection guidelines.
Okay. Coach, you'll follow up on?
I guess I'm and I'm curious, so I'm just asking because I attended a PWI, although much smaller. But what I did find, and Coach White will tell you, I definitely, and I try to share this with a lot of older folks who are skeptical about us turning the corner when it comes down to race and race relations. But when I look at the protests that happened on a national scale, when we turned on the TV, I saw more young white folks out there in the street protesting, arms locked in hand with Black folks. And to me, I can say I never thought I would see that in my lifetime, to that degree. I'll go as far as saying there were more whites out there in the street than there were Black folks out there in the streets, to be completely honest. So I say all that to say, now that you're on campus, you're around, your friends and your peers, has some of that carried over onto your campus? Do you notice a difference in just the climate on campus, or is it more the same?
I think it's more the same. It's more so on social media where I start to see like a division, because over the summer with everything going on, we had a really popular chant for our football, Gator Bait, and then like stuff came out about how like in the past it was like used in a very racial way, in a very degrading way towards Black people. So sometimes on like any UF like social media pages, you will see the division of some white people being like, oh, like I'm still gonna say the chant at the game, like nobody can stop me. And then there's people that jump in and they're like trying to educate them on it, and then that turns into a whole debate. But like as far as in person on campus, it's not as divisive. They actually have been like setting up different protests. We had huge like canvases out in front of the school that said Black Lives Matter. With Breonna Taylor, we had like a lot of different candles out there. So yeah, I feel like a lot of people have been coming together in person, but on social media, that's definitely where the division is.
Well, social media warriors. I mean, we got a lot of those. But we'll keep praying for them, I guess.
Yeah.
If you're like me, you just keep debating them. But I got a little time on my hands some days.
All right. Sergeant, what about on the military base? And I know not on the base, but when we get off the base, I know you can talk to that.
Yeah, so we're allowed to protest and stuff. The only caveat to that is that we can't be in our uniform, or we can't mention anything about our military affiliation while we're out protesting. Campaigning is completely against the rules and stuff. We can make monetary donations to whatever party we decide to, but we can't go out and physically, campaign for a certain party or a certain individual that's running for office. And the coronavirus protection is on like 1,000,001 on Fort Jackson. I could say we have to be in a face mask at all times. We actually just got in these plexiglasses in a sense to like keep, the soldiers and stuff divided, because we've been teleworking a lot, day on, day off schedule. If you sit right next to someone, then you have to come up with a schedule that, you're not, in close contact or in the same space with the individual. Fort Jackson also has had like a couple of drives where you can get free tested for coronavirus and stuff, and then they'll email you your results and stuff. Hand sanitizer, just all the way around. I would say the one thing that's, it kind of shakes me up a little bit is when you have a new trainee that comes onto post and then they test positive. Like the NCOs, we're the ones responsible for transporting those soldiers to the hospital and, getting them the medical attention that they need, and then isolating and taking them to the location where they're going to be isolated at. So it's important, like they have a lot of, protective equipment in place in case that we come across those situations.
Okay. All right. So they are carrying this off the base. I mean, are they compliant with the mask when you see some of your not shipmates, but when you see some of your soldier buddies off the base?
Yeah, I think probably everybody that I've seen or have encountered like off base have been in compliance with the mask. I know me personally, I probably have gotten out of the car once or twice and forgotten my mask, but I quickly run back to my car, get my mask, make sure I have my hand sanitizer on me or my gloves or something, and and just continue on with what I was doing.
Okay. All right. Okay, let's go, Mr. Bill. Now you say you're not as, no more than I know about this here. I put it like that. I just have a question. Now I heard yesterday on the morning news, Morning Joe actually says that Biden is trailing Trump by 10 points, and Graham and Harrison are ties, pretty much at a tie. So what I'm trying to figure out is, what could the voters read be into the Republicans' 10-point lead on one hand and a Republican tie on the other hand? And my concern is that somebody look at hear that 10-point tie and say, well, my voice doesn't count, my vote doesn't count. Can you tell us what you know about that?
Yeah, that's actually a very interesting observation you made and almost seems contradictory, right? So
Yeah.
let me help try to make a little bit of sense of it. First, I wouldn't count Joe out in the polls.
Mhm.
Joe Biden surprised the living snot out of everybody back in February. The polls had him neck and neck with Bernie Sanders. And there were other good candidates as well. Pete Buttigieg was also very popular and doing pretty well. But it was really between Bernie and Joe. And then what happened? In the primaries, Joe smoked everybody. I mean, it came out of nowhere and he just dominated. There's a lot of support for Joe Biden. He's got roots in South Carolina, not directly, but his children did. And he's kind of like a father figure to a lot of the Democrats here in South Carolina. So I wouldn't count him out yet. And even with that lead, there's a lot of undecided voters. And that takes me to the Jamie Harrison, Lindsey Graham race. So there, Lindsey is extraordinarily unpopular, and that could help partially explain why Jamie Harrison is tied with him at this point. Jamie is just true blue all the way through South Carolinian. I mean, his backstory, his roots in Orangeburg, I mean, he just grew up working, the ground of South Carolina. He knows it. He came up from nothing and made a success out of himself. But also one thing, you look at the numbers between Harrison and Graham, there's still 11% of voters undecided. So the number you see when they're tied in the polls, that doesn't account for 100% of voters. That accounts for less than 90. So there is still 11% undecided in those polls that could be swayed either way. So Jamie's got a lot of work cut out for him, and we're there to support him. We've got, his work is our work. We're going to make sure that it happens.
Okay. All right, Coach, you got anything on that? Or
No, I think he nailed it. Just the enthusiasm factor, and that matters. But what can't happen, or if you're a Democrat, what you don't want to happen is for the top of the ticket energy to kind of work its way down ballot. Like, we still want enthusiasm down ballot. I've been pushing that those are the elections that truly matter. These are local officials who are voted in. Those are your decision makers. Those are the people who impact your day to day. Nothing against top of the ticket. I mean, we're going to support as best you can, but it's going to impact you locally first, and you need decision makers locally who represent your best interests. So I think that's the message to drive. Is not to get so underwhelmed with the top of the ticket here in South Carolina, but really drive energy, down ballot.
okay. All right. And then I'm going to ask you for about 60 seconds each on this particular question. What are you hearing from Republican citizens concerning what's on the platform that's meaningful to them to hold on to, and what has been your response to them? Now, for an example, and I'm sure if you've talked to any Republican, their red meat is babies, killing babies. That's the way they bring it to me. So, let's go. Tatiana, have you talked to any Republican students that have voiced their concerns, what they want to hold on to or what they're holding on to? Yeah.
I think one of the biggest things is the whole like the gun rights thing. That's definitely been really big for them. Like they are not here for gun control at all. I remember when the Parkland school shooting happened a few years ago in Florida, a lot of students like were divided even then because of at that point a lot of students wanted to fight for gun control, and then a lot of the Republicans were just like not here for it, felt like their Second Amendment rights were being infringed upon. So yeah, that's definitely been a huge thing that they're trying to hold on to.
Okay. And what's been your response? Or do you
For me,
know how to respond to that?
like for like the gun control thing, I definitely think it should be implemented. I feel like there has been a lot of just unnecessary mass shootings, and I just think that at some point, like enough is enough. So, yeah.
Right. Okay. And sorry.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, same for you. The same question.
Okay, yeah. So I have to, caveat off what Tatiana just mentioned. It's the same thing as far as like the individuals that's in the military. They want to hold on to those. They're against like the gun control laws and stuff. I think most individuals that's for having their own rifles and stuff like that, they all fall within a certain demographic within the military when you look at the statistics and stuff. So the way I like to combat it, is just you have to look at like what's going on in society today. We had that boy that I think it was like 17, going from one state, crossing the state lines with an assault rifle and stuff like that. But you want to justify why, someone should still be able to do that.
Okay. All right. Very good. Bill?
Yeah, I'll tell you, of all the questions, this is the toughest one. It's very frustrating when you try to engage in meaningful conversation because you quickly find yourself in false generalities. Like, how do you talk to somebody seriously when they're worried about socialism in Venezuela? And that just shows that they don't know what they're talking about. I just want my grandmother to be covered with, affordable health care. How is that Venezuela? That's not what we're talking about here. You talk about, typically the Republicans are in for freedoms and rights. So we go back to what Tatanya said with the gun rights. And it's like, okay, they're very rabid about making sure there's no sane regulation. I'm all for the Second Amendment, but there's the word regulated in the Second Amendment. Yet at the same time, when it comes to voting rights, they can't throw enough regulations at you. They can't put enough restrictions. You can't do Dropbox. You have to have witness signatures. You have to be standing on your head while you sign it. It's absolutely frustrating. And the only advice that I've learned in 4 years, because I have not truly learned how to have meaningful conversations. That's something I'm working on. But one thing I did learn is that sometimes it's better just not to engage. Because when you find somebody who is entrenched like that, who learns solely through memes, or is just watching only Fox News or God help us, OAN, whatever that is, if they're stuck in that world, don't engage, because you're not going to win anything there. You're better off saving your energy for another fight.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Coach Johnson, what is your take towards the abortion?
Well, I'll just say first, I agree with Bill, right? I found that there are some people you cannot engage, right? And you figure out after about 2 back and forths, this isn't going anywhere, right?
Oh, I was off by about 200 there, sir. So you were a much faster student than I.
But I will say I have had meaningful conversations with Republicans, and we engage one another, and always, you know, at least what they'll say to me, they say, you know what, I appreciate the fact that when I engage you, you don't make me feel less than, right? You don't attack me. You listen, you rebut. We disagree, but we're not disagreeable. And that's always my thing, is we can always disagree, but don't be disagreeable. You know, so I always, you know, try to engage in that way. I know people who in 2016 voted Trump who are telling me today, now, you know, I don't know what they're going to do when they go in there, but they're telling me right now, I'm off of that train. Like I'm done with it. You know, he's not getting my vote this time. But I think it's me being able to engage them in those conversations, me being able to say, look at the world through this lens, that may have a little bit to do with it. I think ultimately Trump is his own worst enemy. And at the end of the day, the enthusiasm you see on the Democratic side is because of Trump. The enthusiasm you see on the Republican side is because of Trump. Like, let's not slight words there. That's what it comes down to. So even tonight, he'll do some damage. He'll drive more enthusiasm both ways, and Biden will be steady, right? So I think that's ultimately. And I had a friend who sent me something earlier today, like Lindsey Graham's words, you know, basically endorsing Joe Biden. It was pretty good ad that was put together, and I was like, man, how did I miss this? But and he sent it to me, and he said, you know, I have some issues. Maybe, you know, he's caught up on the cognitive ability of Joe Biden. I think Trump has made that kind of a sticking point. I don't know where that came from, but, you know, put some fake videos out there, and they kind of made it seem like it's real. And now people think Joe Biden just cognitively can't function, you know, or maybe we should drug test him before the debate, you know, just those things that they're doing. So I figure out very quickly that what they're doing on the Trump side is golden for his base, because they believe all of it, right? And then I realized that there are people who look at it and they're like, come on, man, like, that's fake. We know that's fake. Like, even Facebook has put a fact checker right there on there, and they still don't believe it. So, you know, so some of those folks you can't engage, but then there are some who you can say, hey, look, dude, look at the bottom. Look at the fact check. Like, that's not real. And they'll say, oh, okay, I didn't realize that. You know, so you can kind of go into those conversations.
Hey,
But
Coach, can I share a secret with y'all?
yeah.
We're not broadcasting live beyond this group, right? All right, I'll share this with you.
Let's welcome I want to welcome our YouTube live, our Periscope live, and 3-4 Facebook pages live.
So I'll share the secret with you. My wife is born and bred Republican. So you talk about being able to have civil conversations. You know, I love her dearly, and we get along great. And I think she's may have pulled to my side a little more than I've pulled to hers. But you're absolutely right that there are those who you can have conversations with, and you absolutely should. So amen to that.
And as far as the abortion, I think abortion is it's a sticking point, because it's something that they can attack Joe on, right? And that's the bottom line. I don't really make too much more of it. Will it always be there? It has always been there, right? There's always the debate about abortion and women's rights, right? But when you look at Biden, he's about as moderate of a liberal as you're going to find, right? So for a person who backed Trump, they can look at Biden and they can be comfortable with Biden, right? That's what appeals there. You know, nothing against Bernie, but Bernie would have been that radical. Like, that's why Trump would have loved Bernie, right? Let's be real about that, because he could definitely say, look at how way out there this guy is. And then you might think, well, man, he really is kind of out there. And the whole time you're forgetting that Trump's way out there, right? So I think with Biden, he's so close to the middle, to the point that I think that abortion, although it is a sticking point, I don't think it's going to decide this one. You know, it's not like Hillary with the emails and all. Like, I don't think it's going to drive too much. I think it's something that people are using to justify their vote for Trump, because ultimately they kind of want a personal reprieve on overlooking some of the other things he's done.
Okay. All right. What we'll do at this point, we are right up against our closing time. And what I'm going to ask in closing, if we'll start with Sergeant Brown, if you can tell us, one, what do you, well, let me see. I think, what do you want this election, how could this election shape your future in the military? And what what would you like to see in the debate tonight?
Wow. So this is a good question for me. And I think this election, of course, whoever is the president of the United States is my boss ultimately. So I think the one thing that I do take into account is my family that's still in McCormick and Greenwood, South Carolina. And, you know, because historically, like when a Republican president is in office, you know, the military gets raises, we get all of these extra incentives and benefits and stuff. But I have to realize that I'm not voting just for me and my benefits. I have to think about my family and my friends that's still back in McCormick and Greenwood. And one thing that I want to see from this debate tonight, wow, I want them to dive a little bit deeper into, policies and, you know, their thoughts and stuff on the military and how they plan on, you know, interacting with other nations, United Nations, and just getting on one accord to make, you know, our relationships better with foreigners.
Yeah. Yeah. That's powerful. Both comments are powerful there. And it's bigger than you. And I made the comment that last week sometime how prideful I would be whenever I go into foreign countries wearing a uniform, and I just wouldn't be sure how I would look or feel going into another country now, you know. So, all right, that was good. Tatiana, what will shape your future in college or beyond college?
This election is definitely probably one of the most divisive elections like we've ever had. And I do think like no matter the outcome that there will be a lot of civil unrest. But I feel like this election will shape my future as far as college, with the racial injustices going on in the healthcare wise. If we don't have people in office that make sure minority voices are heard, that could definitely be detrimental for us. And if we don't have someone taking the right steps to try to help with the pandemic, it puts us at risk. More especially for college students that are disregarding the seriousness of it. So we need somebody that is going to make sure that we follow the CDC guidelines. And the pandemic is tremendously affecting the job market. So like if we have somebody that is disregarding things like that and our economy does end up crashing when I graduate college, like as far as a job, I'll probably like not be able to find one as easily.
That's good. Good, thoughtful.
Well, and also to that point, when you talk about the healthcare, which is going to be crucial here, you know, you're talking about Supreme Court and striking down the Affordable Care Act, and you're talking about college students who, up until the age of 26, can still be on their parents' insurance. That will go away, you know. So that could be a reality come November 10th for college students during a pandemic, during a time when college kids aren't taking this virus as seriously as they need to. So you talk about a talking point. I think that should be talked about on a lot of college campuses.
Right. Yeah. Okay. And then, of course, Bill, how do you?
Yeah, it's a good question. You know, many say it's just politics. You know, why do I need to get involved? Just politics. But I tell you what I've learned is that politics affects your ability to earn a living wage. Politics affects your ability to have affordable and available health care. Politics allows executives to collect millions in bonuses while laying off thousands during a pandemic. Politics affects your right to play in peace, to jog, to breathe. To me, there's no such thing as just politics. Politics is what governs our world. Specifically in South Carolina, politics led our state to being one of only 14, and remember, there's 50 states. We're one of 14 that continues to turn down federal money to expand eligibility for low-income Medicaid. That's politics. Politics is affecting somebody, you know, their ability not to afford health care. It could kill them. it's no longer just politics, guys. This is absolutely life and death, and that's why I'm spending every free minute I have on this cause. And you know what? We may not win every battle, but I do know we lose 100% of those we never fight in.
Mm-hmm. Coach, what you said last night is worth repeating that on Bill's point about Jordan.
Miss every shot you don't take. You know,
Say that again.
You definitely miss every shot you don't take. You know, you got to
Right.
get in the game, be willing to take shots. So that's what it is. That's what voting is.
Yes. So to all our listeners out there, let's get in the game, man. Let's get in the game, ladies as well. Is there anything closing that you may have going on that you want to announce from your platform? Anything you got going on there, Sergeant Brown? You want the people to know? No?
I have absolutely nothing going on.
We're so jealous.
Say that again, Bill.
I said we're really jealous of that.
I know, right? Golly, the good old days. Yeah, that's right, Miss Armstrong. All these political games, but we got to play it the right way, I guess. Thank you for your service, Sergeant Brown, and we appreciate you being with you, and we'll be in touch. And anything that you find that be going on, you let us know, and we'll bring you back on. But we appreciate you. All right.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity and sharing your platform with me.
Bless you.
Thanks,
All right. Tatanya, you got anything? Tell us about your platform. When next time you're going to be broadcasting from your podcast? I'm going to put up your brand afterwards to scroll down so people can see the different. What would you call those broadcasting stations?
Podcast.
Podcast.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So yes, Talks with Tatiana, my podcast, it comes out every Thursday. Sometimes we push it back to Fridays, but it's always usually posted weekly. And yes, and it's on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and Pandora. And it's also on Instagram at Talks with Tatiana _ and on Facebook at Talks with Tatiana.
Okay. All righty. Well, you keep doing good work down there. And like I said, please tell those guys to take it easy on those Gamecock Saturdays. So, but we're gonna bring you back after the election and let you talk to us about some of the things that you're doing on your podcast. So keep up the good work and stay engaged as you are. All right.
Thank you for having me.
We're blessed to have you. All right. Okay, there, Mr. Bill.
Man, I'm feeling old. I don't have a podcast. I don't have TikTok. I don't know. I don't even have Snapchat. I don't know what's going on. I feel old. But listen,
these days apparently.
Yeah, but listen, I am very active on social media. If you look up the Greenwood County Democratic Party, we've got a website, we've got Facebook, we've got an email subscription list. We're on Instagram, we're on YouTube, we're on Twitter. We're trying to push it out in every platform we know how to use, and we'll figure out the other ones later. Mm-hmm. So please do look us up and get involved. We have our biggest event of the year Thursday night. It's called the Carnell Drummond Mays Dinner. It's named after three stalwarts of Greenwood County, John Drummond, Marion Carnell, and Dr. Benjamin E. Mays. They're three of the biggest names that come from Greenwood County for the cause. And we're doing it virtually. You know, we're not gathering in a big group like we normally do, but we're going to have a couple of hundred join us and watch our live YouTube feed that we took inspiration directly from the Democratic National Convention. So all of our local politicians are going to have a few minutes to speak. Our keynote speaker is Jamie Harrison. We're going to have tributes along the way, prize giveaways, even a couple of surprises you might be surprised to see. We've been working really hard on this for a couple of months, and more information about it can be found on our website, gwdcountydems.org.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Bill, for your time, and we will. Hopefully, you can come back once we get down to the nitty-gritty of late October and push us on over to the edge. I think
I expect to be fully gray by the last week of October.
I know, but you're a voice for the state, man. You make
Yes,
a big
sir.
difference. So you keep doing what you're doing, and we'll probably sing you some Starbucks. How about that?
Sounds good.
Okay. All right. Bless you. Give our regards to your wife, the
Yes,
Republic.
sir.
All right.
Thank you.
Take care.
See you, Bill.
All right, buddy. Well, we're gonna go try to find us some Starbucks and come back at 10:30. I think and we just do the first debate and the first vice president debate. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But we look forward for those of you that will be watching the debate. We're going to come back at 10:30, and we're only going to spend 25 to 30 minutes. And we have another person that's joining us from activist from Greenwood. Miss Armstrong already voted. That's all right. That's what we want to do. Make October our voting month. So Dr. McCray, Oliver McCray will be with us. And if you go to Historic Goodman Creek page, you'll see a lot of the comments on there. But we don't need for you to go and make, like Bill said, we don't need to make no big spat out of what Trumpies are saying over there. But you know, you just can't argue with some people. So you got anything you want to close out with there, Coach?
No, I think at the end of the day, the debates. I don't think there's going to be a winner and a loser this time. I think both sides are going to agree with their candidate. I do think there may still be some folks undecided, even though I think that number's getting to be less and less as we get closer to October. So ultimately, I think, like Sergeant Brown said, let's listen for policy tonight. Let's listen for things that will impact us moving forward. Let's understand what the current policy decisions will do for us, what the Supreme Court, you know, which is probably inevitable now, what the Supreme Court will mean for us. Like, we need to really start craft a message and really deliver that message. And I'm hoping that the Democrats will do it. So hopefully it happens.
Okay. All right. Tasha, your bedtime, you don't have a bedtime. You're going to be up. Keep your papa up. And with that said, we want to, again, thank one of our sponsors, Paracalico Management. She helps businesses, and she does all the arrangements for us getting our guests and panelists, and she's the ultimate professional. So you can contact her for your services if you need any help in your business. Okay, Coach. Well, we'll get out of here on this, and I'll see you tonight.
All right.
All right. God bless you all. Thank you for listening, and hopefully we'll see you all tonight as well.